Next is Megan. She's the KGGV GCC liaison.
How you doing, everybody? It's warm enough in here. I mean, I've got more doors open to let in some air. I know it's a little warm in here. So, we want to move forward from here. We have to start over where we're at. I want to kind of get the layout, though, of the structure of where KGG fits in the structure with Guerneville Community Church. Guerneville Community Church is a congregational church. The church gets to elect its officers and trust that the officers are going to run the church. And like I said, so the council gets to elect Guerneville Community Church gets to elect the council. With KGGV, the council gets to work with and elect the advisory board. It's not elect, really. Appoint, approve the advisory board. And under the advisory board is the program committee and other committee and positions.
What's the advisory board again?
Okay, I need
It's
to raise your hand. We already got it.
So the advisory board is just an advisory board. The decisions, the actual financial decisions of KGGV have to be approved by the church council. Okay, so just to let you know, it's just a fiscal manager, if you will, that the council is. But the advisory board, they work together to run the station, and they advise the council as to any movements that need to be made or any things that are going to be happening, future events, or anything that they need to advise the church. The advisory board consists of a station manager, and there have been some volunteers that have come forward and have volunteered to fill some of these positions. Don Kennedy, thank you, Don, for coming in and acting station manager and helping us get through this very difficult time. Hunter has come forward and has volunteered to be the volunteer coordinator. Kit has come forward and said she would do fundraising and events. We have Randy as engineer. He's on board, thank you. There's the rotating PC chair. It's a rotating position in their meetings. They have a chair that meets, they meet every month, and the chair is the chair for 3 months, and then that rotates. So whoever the PC chair is for the advisory board meetings will be on this advisory board. And then there's the underwriters and IT, which Peter has come forward and volunteered to take on this position.
Yes,
this positions. Right.
What's IT?
Information technology.
And what does the volunteer coordinator do?
The volunteer coordinator is, I would say, oh.
I'm going to be covering that. I'm on the agenda. And I'll
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Bill. These seems like to be important positions. Why advisory if they're this basically on the station?
Because they're advising the council.
Okay.
Okay, of the church, yeah, they're advising the council.
What does the underwriter do?
The underwriter manages, maintains, and monitors the underwriters. For example, an underwriter, Main Street Station, underwrites my program. 3 months from now, we just got a check from them to underwrite my show, which means I get to do announcements about their facility. And then every 3 months, I've got to go back to them and get more money. And there's an actual contract between the underwriter and the station. And then there's the part about the announcements have got to be done to FCC code, so that they're not doing the invitation to come and or quantitatively or qualitatively validating that place. So the underwriter's got to maintain those accounts and try to get more.
Underwriter manager.
Manager, okay.
Because I think when we left off, it was like we were kind of doing our own contracts.
I don't No,
Darlene was
Darlene
in
Kirchner
charge.
was
She
was
had
running
all
it.
the
She would send me a notice every 3 months to,
Here, Darlene.
You can still present.
I think I'm done. This is,
Any other questions for Megan? Okay, I'm up next. And Peter has agreed to facilitate while I'm speaking, because right now I'm wearing the volunteer coordinator hat, and I can't do 2 jobs at once. So I wanted to just very briefly share a story with you as to why I volunteered to be the volunteer coordinator. I don't know if any of you have seen the YouTube of the mob flash video, Ode to Joy. Has anybody seen that? Okay. Well, that's how I look at the KGGV volunteers. So I would really encourage you to look it up when you have the opportunity. One person comes out with a cello, starts playing it in sort of a public square. That person, yes, sir.
What's the name of that video again?
It is Ode to Joy.
Ode to Joy.
It's mob flash video, Ode to Joy. And then a second person comes out, and I think it's not a cello, but the smaller one, a viola, I guess it is. And then they're joined by an oboist. Then they're joined by 2 fiddlers. Then they're joined by 5 fiddlers. Then they're joined by the percussions, the drums. And then finally they're joined by a chorus of about 12 people. And I have to tell you, at the end of it, what is presented is just unbelievable. And that's how I look at volunteers. I want you to see where my thinking is, that every volunteer is equal and the same and just as important. They may have different responsibilities and duties, but we are all equal. And we are all responsible for our behavior. One of my jobs I wanted to do this was, I wanted to advocate for all the volunteers to make sure they are treated correctly. And so that's why I put my name to KIT and opted up to do that. The other thing too, I just want to mention, there's a volunteer, and then I'll get back to the gentleman's question about what the volunteer coordinator does, because there is the job description I was given. But one of the most important things, besides being an advocate for all the volunteers to make sure they're all treated fairly, is also to get a volunteer agreement signed from all the volunteers. And I'm not going to go over that tonight because most of you know about it. For the newer volunteers, I just want to point out one of the things that's on this volunteer agreement is the civility agreement. And I'd like to read it to you. One of my jobs tonight as a facilitator is to keep this a safe place tonight. My job as a volunteer, yes, Natasha.
I'm trying to be calm because my doctor has advised me I must speak. My blood pressure has spiked in the last few months directly because of the problems here at KGGV. I'm sorry, Hunter, but you're just reiterating stuff that we've gone over and that we've done before. I find this very difficult to listen to because you are lecturing us on things that we already have been doing. As a member of the program committee several times and a current member, we have volunteer agreements. We have had them signed by the people who were on the air. And anyone who joins KGGV is given a volunteer agreement to sign before they can proceed with their program. I feel that you're really talking down to us, and it offends me. What unsafe thing is going to happen? Do you think we're going to leap the table and attack each other? No, it doesn't happen. I think that all of us have the maturity and hopefully the intellectual capacity to realize that we can agree to disagree, but we are civil to each other. We come to the station to do our shows, we come to the meetings, and I find it insulting, actually, that you're making that point.
Could we let him finish his statement?
Yeah, I just was making mine, thank you.
The rules we set up were you could...
Yeah, well, you know what they say about rules, don't you? I didn't agree to the rules, thank you.
Yes, Kate.
What Hunter was trying to tell us is about civil behavior, and I'd like to see some.
Yeah, why don't you?
Yeah, well, if people haven't been civil towards us, that's one of the reasons that I read my statement. I have not engaged in any uncivil behavior. I have not sent out any emails, telephone calls, posters, or any behavior at meetings.
Thank you. The meeting.
You're welcome. And I do not like to be talked down to.
Could we
Thank
continue the
you.
meeting,
Please, thank you.
Thank you.
You've made your point. Thank you.
I apologize if any of you feel I was talking down to you.
Thank you.
I was primarily, as I stated, there may be new volunteers in here that don't have the tenure or experience as experienced people like DJ Natasha or anybody else in the room. So my intentions was not to lecture you, put you down, but it was to answer someone's question is, what is my job as a volunteer coordinator? That's what I was answering. And one of the things that I do when I'm advocating for the volunteers, and as I said, I wanted to point out the civility agreement, and even though, thank you, Natasha, I'm really glad you know about it, there may be some of you that are not quite familiar with it, and it's very important because, let me just read. I agree to be civil and respectful in my tone, language, and behaviors with all other volunteers and individuals I come in contact with while performing my KGGV activities. I will not use the listserv for personal business. I will not be party to gossip or feuds. If I have a problem with a volunteer, I agree to attempt to solve it directly with that person. Only if all other remedies fail will I escalate my complaint and seek remedy by the formal grievance procedure. So there are policies in place if people feel disrespected, talked down to, or not being treated well. You can come to me as your advocate. If that's uncomfortable for you, you can come to the station manager as well. And but basically both of us are going to say, first thing we're going to say is, have you talked to that individual about your problem? And if you say no, is there any way we can encourage you to do it so that we can get it solved and have harmony? And if they say no, they can't do it, then the volunteer coordinator will step in, or the station manager will step in, and if the person wants to go by the formal complaint route, then fine, we will help them do that as well. So that's all I wanted to point out about the volunteer agreement. Currently, I will be at the first meeting of the advisory committee requesting the approval to have all voluntary agreements re-signed and renewed. And that hasn't been approved, and I'm bringing that to the advisory committee. Currently, I asked for someone to, where all the agreements were. They're supposed to be in a binder, and they're supposed to be with the volunteer coordinator. So I have no idea who has signed them or who had not signed them. And before we can do anything officially in the area of discipline, we need to make sure that every volunteer understands this agreement. And if they have any questions, we'll go over it with them.
I want to do this when you're finished, Hunter. I'm going to give you a chance to, when you're done, I'd like to ask a question.
Can you make a list?
Yeah.
Thank you. Put Natasha on it too, please. Okay. The next thing I want, yes.
Would you put me on the list?
Right.
What I was going to say is to go with what you were just talking about. If you table me, it's not going to be relevant. What, don't you call on people who have something to say about what you're talking about?
Because, Natasha, I may be covering I may be answering
All the
everybody's.
volunteer agreements are in a binder that Angie has in the living room.
Okay, well, let's.
Why should we
Probably in that
sign
box.
them in? It's like a loyalty oath, like McCarthyism.
Right.
This is not, we're not.
Yes, it is.
This is
The signing once, that's enough.
All I was going to tell you, Hunter, was that, to my knowledge, everyone who is on the air has signed
Someone
them.
ahead of you.
Okay, I give up.
Who's the first person?
I think we're all.
Oh, Wayne. Could you put Angie on the list too, please?
I was curious as to if there were going to be changes made in the volunteer agreement. I know for a fact, being on the committees that I've been on in the past, that nobody starts a radio show before they sign a volunteer agreement. I've trained, and Damien's trained enough people that people don't go on the air without signing a volunteer agreement. And with that covered, it shouldn't be that difficult to find these. They're not buried underground somewhere. They should be where they can be transposed over real easy. I don't think we should make a big deal out of it. I know I signed mine, and I know that everybody that's in this room signed one too. So as far as re-signing it, I think we're all very familiar with it. If you want us to re-sign, I mean, I'm going along. I think you have a wonderful voice, Hunter. I love hearing your voice on the radio. I think you're part of this KGGV family. I like hearing you.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, I was asking why, if you don't, do we really need to sign these again, or can't we look for these volunteer agreements? I mean, they just didn't evaporate or oxygenate into thin air. They're here. They're tangible.
I understand your question. I'm not asking that you redo another one. I'm just alerting you that I'm bringing the subject up to the advisory board, so that if you have concerns about it, I'm giving you a heads up that maybe you might want to contact someone that's going to be at that meeting, or even, it's an open meeting, you can go yourself. Okay, again, to answer that gentleman's question, one of my responsibilities as volunteer coordinator is to maintain a binder of volunteer agreements on every KGGV volunteer. I'm not saying you people haven't filled it out. I'm not saying that you people don't understand it. I'm just saying this is my responsibility. That's all I'm saying. Natasha?
Are you going to change the wording on the volunteer agreement?
I have no intention of changing the wording.
Then I don't understand what you're talking about.
We have them in our files.
They exist. Angie has just received all of the printed material.
Angie commented.
Yeah, let Angie speak about it.
Although this gentleman's ahead of me. Angie.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to say, this kind of Erasmus democracy takes patience, as we all know. And it's inevitable that we criticize, somebody's going to criticize somebody. I want to try and make a point that I think is really important. It's about labeling. When you call someone an a-hole, you're criticizing their character. If you say you're acting like an a-hole, you're criticizing their behavior. You see the difference? This is very important. We're going to respect each other as individuals participating in a democratic forum. We do not criticize each other's character, we criticize each other's actions. And I just want to say, in regards to my termination process, what I went through was actually a form of emotional abuse. So I can definitely empathize with Natasha. But what most irked me about it was that the Operations Committee did not even follow their own guidelines in the volunteer handbook. In the volunteer handbook, it says very clearly before someone can be terminated, they have to be notified by mail. I was never notified by mail. I brought it up in a meeting and it made absolutely no difference. I was terminated anyway. Not only was I terminated, I was told I had to apply to the programming committee and start from scratch. So functioning, respectful, democratic organization, please, let's follow our own guidelines.
Thank you.
And the good news is, Milo and I have found a intelligent, brilliant female sister to become part of the touch team. So I'm going to start training her next week. Good.
So Angie, before you talk again, I want to remind you, please keep your questions on top. Okay, so we can get to the agenda. And if you want something put on the agenda so that you can speak about it, just raise your hand and we'll put it on.
And the pizza's getting cold.
Yeah, let's have some food.
Sure.
Let
Great.
Angie, let Angie.
Go ahead, Angie.
Now, were we talking about volunteer agreement? I'd like to see us table that for the moment until I have a chance to go through
Right.
this huge amount of stuff that I got. It may be in there,
I expected this.
okay? And then let's just stop talking about it for this meeting.
Okay.
Because I feel the same way. If we already signed one and it's there, but new people need to sign.
Can we take a break and answer your question?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. We'll take how much of a break?
Mm.
About 5